In the sprawling city of Los Angeles, where dreams are made and broken every day, a single Uber ride turned into a national headline. The story began with a viral video. A wealthy man, later identified as a tech billionaire, was caught on camera screaming at his black Uber driver. The clip was short, explosive, and seemingly straightforward. The internet erupted. People were outraged, calling for boycotts and consequences. It looked like another clear-cut case of entitlement and racial prejudice. But as is often the case, the short clip that everyone saw was only a tiny fraction of a much larger, more complex story. What really happened inside that car? The Dashcam, which recorded the entire journey, held the key. Today, we're going to piece together the full story, using the complete, unedited Dashcam footage to uncover the truth behind the viral moment. And I promise you, what we found is not what you'd expect. Our story starts with James, a kind, middle-aged Uber driver who had been working for the rideshare company for over 5 years. He was known among his regulars for his calm demeanor and his impeccably clean car. He saw driving as more than just a job. It was a way to connect with the city and its people. On that particular evening, James picked up a ride request from one of Beverly Hills' most exclusive neighborhoods. The passenger was a man named Julian Croft, a name synonymous with tech innovation and immense wealth. Julian was known for being a reclusive genius, rarely seen in public and notoriously private. James had no idea who he was picking up. To him, it was just another ride. As Julian got into the back seat, James greeted him with his usual warm smile. "Good evening, son. Hope you're having a good night." Julian just grunted in response, his face buried in his phone. The first 10 minutes of the ride were silent, just the hum of the engine and the soft glow of the city lights passing by. James focused on the road, navigating the familiar streets of LA. He was used to quiet passengers, so he thought nothing of it. But then, Julian's phone rang, and the atmosphere in the car changed completely. The call was clearly a difficult one. Julian's voice, at first a low murmur, steadily rose in volume and intensity. He was speaking to his sister, and the conversation was about their mother. From the snippets, James couldn't help but overhear. He gathered that their mother was in the hospital, and her condition had taken a turn for the worse. Julian's words were sharp, filled with a mix of frustration, fear, and desperation. He was trying to coordinate with doctors, arguing about treatment options, and grappling with the terrifying reality that he might be losing his mom. James felt a pang of sympathy. He knew what it was like to get that kind of news. He kept his eyes on the road, giving the man in his back seat the illusion of privacy, even though they were only feet apart. The call ended abruptly, and a heavy silence once again filled the car. But this silence was different. It was tense, filled with unspoken grief and anger. James glanced in the rearview mirror and saw Julian with his head in his hands, his shoulders shaking. It was a raw, human moment, far from the powerful billionaire image the world knew. A few minutes later, Julian's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text. James watched in the rearview mirror as Julian read the message. His face went pale. He let out a sound that was somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Then, he looked up, his eyes wild and unfocused, and his gaze landed on James. "Why are you going so slow?" he snapped, his voice cracking. "Can't you drive any faster?" James was taken aback, but kept his cool. "Sir, I'm going the speed limit. There's heavy traffic up ahead." But Julian wasn't listening. His grief and panic had found a target. "The speed limit. My mother is dying, and you're worried about the speed limit. Just drive." His voice escalated with each word, turning into a full-blown yell. "Is this some kind of game to you? Are you enjoying this?" It was here, in this moment of pure, unfiltered agony, that the infamous viral video began. The person filming from the car next to them captured only the climax. A rich man screaming at his driver. They didn't see the tears that were streaming down Julian's face. They didn't hear the heartbroken conversation that preceded it. They just saw rage. And that's the clip the world saw. The one that was shared millions of times with captions like, "Entitled billionaire abuses Uber driver." The narrative was set. Julian was the villain, James the victim. Online commentators were brutal. They dissected Julian's life, his wealth, his privilege. No one stopped to ask what might have led to such an outburst. No one considered the context. For James, The experience was surreal. He knew the man wasn't yelling at him. Not really. He was yelling at the world, at the unfairness of the situation, at his own powerlessness. After Julian's initial outburst, James did something unexpected. Instead of yelling back or ending the ride, he pulled the car over to a safe spot. He turned around in his seat, looked Julian directly in the eye, and said, "Sir, I'm going to end this ride. Not because you yelled at me, but because you need to be with your family, not in my car. Tane Hadid, I lost my father last year. I know what this feels like. Don't worry about the fare. Just go." He then helped Julian get another, faster ride to the hospital, and didn't charge him a cent. The full dashcam footage was eventually released by James himself. Not for revenge, but for understanding. He wanted people to see the whole story. He felt the public's judgment of Julian, while understandable based on the viral clip, was incomplete and unfair. The full footage showed the entire sequence of events: the heartbreaking phone call, the devastating text, Julian's breakdown, and James's incredible act of compassion. When the full story came out, the public's reaction was a whiplash. The tide of opinion turned dramatically. Apologies flooded social media, directed at both Julian and James. People were humbled. Raymond Day that a 30-second clip can never capture the complexity of a human being or a difficult situation. They were moved by James's empathy and grace under pressure. He wasn't just a victim. He was a hero in his own right, a man who chose kindness in the face of anger. In the aftermath, Julian Croft made a public statement. He didn't make excuses. He apologized sincerely to James for his behavior, acknowledging that his grief was no excuse for his outburst. He called James a man of incredible character and expressed his deep gratitude for the compassion he was shown on what he called the worst night of his life. His mother, he shared, had passed away shortly after he arrived at the hospital, but he was able to be there, to hold her hand in her final moments. He credited James for making that possible. The two men even met in person a few weeks later. Away from the cameras and the public eye, they shared a quiet conversation. Julian made a substantial donation to a charity of James's choice, a foundation that supports grief counseling for families who have lost loved ones. He also set up a fund for Uber drivers to provide them with mental health resources and support, recognizing the immense pressure they can be under. This story serves as a powerful reminder in our age of instant judgment. We are so quick to form opinions based on snippets of information, to categorize people into heroes and villains. The viral clip of Julian yelling was true, but it wasn't the truth. The full truth was a story of grief, panic, and unexpected humanity. It showed that the Billionaire was a heartbroken son, and the Uber driver victim was a deeply compassionate man who understood that pain can make people act in ways they normally wouldn't. He didn't see a rich man yelling at a poor man. He saw a human being in pain, and he responded not with anger, but with a simple, profound act of grace. It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to seek context, and to lead with empathy. Because behind every viral video, there's a story much deeper and more human than we can possibly imagine from a screen. It's a lesson in not just holding judgment, but in actively seeking to understand before we condemn. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, consider sharing it. Not for the drama, but for the lesson in compassion it teaches. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that go beyond the headlines.